Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer, and this is going to be a little bit different again than what I normally do. I'm still working on my Rome Total War AAR that I'm going to be releasing, trying to release weekly updates to that, as well as a few other projects. I've got some stuff that either by the time this posts will be up or should be up shortly on wargamer.com. I'm also working on a full-blown review of Rome Total War 2 and some other Scourge of War stuff, as well as a whole bunch of other games I'd like to get to, but life has just been so hectic and busy lately I haven't been able to get to as much as I would like. But anyway, this is going to be, as I said, a little bit different. This is just a short little talk about a game that is currently up on Greenlight. I guess it's been up for a while, although I didn't notice it until the other day. The game is called Tennis Elbow 2013. It's a tennis game, and that's what you see here in the background of this video. And it's interesting because it's not a AAA game by any means. It's definitely an indie game. I don't know a whole lot about the development, the team, or anything like that. It's been around for quite a while here. On their website, I can see that there have been editions at least as far back as Tennis Elbow 2004. And they've got 3 different versions for sale, 2004, 2006, and 2013. But they seem to make annual releases or updates. I actually did a couple of videos of Tennis Elbow 2011. They got actually several hundred reviews, and I believe someone affiliated with Tennis Elbow chimed in the comments there. But the interesting thing is, at least I bought mine back in 2011, and it still updates. You know, it says it's Tennis Elbow 2013, so it almost seems like if you buy it, at least for a couple of years, you get the updates free, which is a warm welcome to compared to things like what EA does, where basically every year you're buying a new Madden, you're basically just paying for new roster updates, which Tennis Elbow does do, and at least in my case I haven't had to pay for it. You know, it just keeps updating, so I'm not sure what's up with that. I don't know if I should be doing that, or if, you know, maybe there's some kind of glitch, but either way, I mean, there's no indication I shouldn't be. But anyway, again, I'm getting a little bit off topic. The point is, it's up on Steam Greenlight. Based on some of what they've posted on there, it doesn't look like it's going to be greenlit anytime soon, so I wanted to bring some attention to this game. Now, the gameplay may not look ultra modern. Like I said, it is an indie game. It is developed by, I would imagine, just a couple of individuals, although, again, I don't know the details of it. It's for sale over at managames.com, and the link is in the description here. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is first of all, I'm somewhat of a tennis fan. I've always really enjoyed tennis, and I'm not really sure why. It might just be because of how individualistic and passionate it is. You know, there's only you out there, really. You can blame the line judges, but other than that, it's an individualistic sport where personality can really shine because, you know, it's one person on the court playing against one other person. There's no teammates, there's nothing else. It's basically one-on-one, and in that sense, it's unique amongst any major sport. Don't call me out on golf either, because golf is technically a game. You can call it a sport if you want, but even then, there's only really tennis and golf that are all that individualistic. And also, I mean, maybe it's just because this is just a really well put together game, and there's not a whole lot of tennis games out there. Talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Maybe because I went to high school with someone who currently plays on the pros. I'm not sure, but anyway, getting back to Tennis Elbow here, the game. It's a really enjoyable game to play. I think it's really well done. And it is, in my opinion, the pinnacle of tennis games out there. No, it doesn't have the graphics of a Virtua Tennis or a Top Shot Tennis, but it has the depth and authenticity that I don't think I've ever seen another game even come close to. Maybe the closest thing was, I think it was like Virtual Tennis back in the DOS days. Which was released, I think it was by EA Sports, and it had something like 50 tournaments. You played out 1 year and you tried to become #1 ranked in the world. Well, Tennis Elbow does that in a much larger fashion. In Tennis Elbow, you take on the role of, you know, you can create your own player, much like a Road to the Show and MLB The Show or any other modern sports game, you know, NBA 2K14 or anything like that. You create your own tennis player, and your goal is to have a solid tennis career. And you can start at any point between 1999 and it goes all the way out to 2027. So, you know, 14 years from now, definitely probably about the peak of any realistic tennis career. You know, unless you're talking about someone like Agassi, who played till what was he? Maybe even 35. So, I mean, if you come up When you're 16, I guess you could play longer than that. But still, just a huge amount of time. And thousands of historical players and historical traits are all included in there. You start all the way from the bottom. I've never seen a game do this before, but you start at the future level. You don't come up and start playing Grand Slams right away. You come up and you're playing futures level tournaments and then challenger level tournaments. And when you get into challenger level tournaments, you kind of start fighting and clawing your way into the ATP level or the upper echelon level. And then eventually you get good enough to rank and qualify and get into Grand Slams and Masters events. And it is the pinnacle of tennis games out there, in my opinion. Again, the graphics you're watching, you may not be impressed, but there are 9 different court surfaces that you can play on, which come up with all sorts of realistic and real surfaces, which all play somewhat unique, different speeds, different styles of play will be rewarded. Anything from classic synthetic ground to new line synthetic, indoor hard, carpets, indoor synthetic, grass, clay, green clay, just all these they're not dozens, but 9 different types of surfaces to play on. There's over 300 tournaments throughout the world which are included in this game. As I said, you start at the future levels. They've got all the future tournaments in there. They've got all the challenger level tournaments, which if you're familiar with baseball, something similar to that would be like the single and double A level of play. And they've got World Team Cup. You can play in the what is it called again? I can't ever remember, but where countries play against each other, kind of like the World Cup, except it's played every year in tennis. Davis Cup, that's what it's called for the men anyway. Full ranking systems, just like the ATP, where you earn points based on where you finish, and you can start all the way down at the bottom. Like I said, you can be ranked 600th when you start, and you're just kind of trying to claw your way up to the top and get to the top and the pinnacle of tennis. You can play against legends like Sampras and Agassi and Federer, because like I said, it goes from anywhere between 1999 and 2027. You can customize the game, so you don't have to play epic 5-setters in the Grand Slams if you don't want to, because admittedly, from time to time, the gameplay can get a little bit repetitive. I will say it seems like, depending on the difficulty setting you have, if the difficulty's too high on the AI, it just kind of, bashing back and forth for 40-shot rallies, which may not be realistic, but there are dozens of difficulty levels. You can customize it so that it's the right play, setting for you to make it seem like a realistic match, while at the same time not being so easy. And I think that gives it more replayability than a lot of tennis games, because there's such a huge spectrum of difficulty that you can turn up while you're playing, while you're getting better, to keep things challenging. And as I said, you can customize your tennis match, so you can play anywhere between 1 to 6 games. You can play, per set. You can play 1 set, you can play best of 3, best of 5, and one new feature, or at least new to me, because like I said, I bought the game in 2011, one new thing is they now support online play, where you can play against other players from around the world, and that just adds a whole new element to this game. They've got online doubles, co-op even now, so it's a game that doesn't require an ultra high-end system. And it's a game that is incredibly challenging, incredibly deep. I would call this the out-of-the-park baseball of tennis. I don't think I've ever seen another game capture the absolute depth and immersion that real tennis has. I think a lot of people, especially in the States, watch tennis and all they see is the big four. They see Federer, they see Nadal, Murray, and Djokovic. And they think those are the only good tennis players, and I don't think people have an appreciation for just how hard it is to get to that peak, and this game really captures that. And it's a game that I absolutely love and enjoy, and I haven't played it a whole lot recently, but I dumped hours upon hours into this game, and I think this would be a brilliant addition to the Steam catalog, because it's one of those games that's made by small publishers. It's not, or developers, it's definitely not in the mainstream. I barely found this thing. I stumbled into it on accident while searching for tennis games. If I wasn't looking for it, I never would have found it, so I don't think that very few people know it's out there. Tennis may not be as mainstream as football or as soccer or, baseball, but it is one of those things that I think has a certain appeal to it just because of sort of the epic scale. If there was a sports game out there that really captures the epoch of trying to make it in professional tennis. I think this game does it. In a lot of ways, it's like MLB The Show or Out of the Park Baseball for baseball, except tennis. And there really aren't any other tennis games out there that I've ever run across that are like this. So, you know, not spewing out random things about the game, enough kind of just rambling, but I just wanted to kind of bring a little of attention to this game because I think it would make a great addition to Steam. I think there's a lot of people out there who would really enjoy it, and I think, you know, just because tennis may not be your thing, if a long, challenging, sports-related game is your thing, this would be great. And you know what, if you're up for challenging online play, you know, the fact that they've added online play, and there's a lot of people who've been playing this a long time, there's a small and dedicated community, but if they could get a large community going, tennis is one of the best competitive sports games, I think, out there, more so than anything, because it is such an individualistic sport, as opposed to, you know, things like baseball and other things like that, where you have AI characters who are going to be running around and doing things, especially like football games. So when it comes to, or soccer, so when it comes to sports, you know, online playing or esports, tennis might be ideally suited for that. You know, it really is a one-on-one. You can't blame the AI. It's really just you. And I really think, you know, you should take a look at this and, you know, don't judge it just by the graphics, because, you know, they're definitely serviceable. And for the camera angles that I play at, they're great. I'm not knocking them at all. I enjoy them. But I think the real thing that makes this game special is what's beyond it. Real quick, I mentioned Virtua Tennis and Top Shot Tennis. You want to compare those? There are 300 tournaments every single year, and you can play through multiple years, as I said, anywhere between 1990 to 2027. In Virtua Tennis, I think what you get like 10 years of your career, or 10 seasons, and I think you only play like maybe 14 or 15 tournaments tops. Most of them are major, you know, ATP level tournaments. The challenger tournaments are really just mini games that you're playing against fictional, non-real opponents, playing like three game matches. You know, really just nothing special. It's a very arcadey kind of feel. Top Shot has a similar feel to it. Sure, the graphics are great, but you're playing against a pool of 15, 20, maybe 30 if you're lucky tennis players. Compare that to the over 3,000 real tennis players in this game. Sure, you might not get the facial animation, but it's in a league of its own. It's also worth mentioning, if you ever wanted a game to maybe try and be a tennis coach, I haven't tried it out, but there's a tennis manager game as well. You know, this might be like the inside the park baseball of tennis, and out of the park baseball might be the tennis manager. I'm not sure, but I am intrigued by a tennis manager, so I may check that out as well. Still, anyway, just like I said, enough rambling here. I didn't intend for this to be quite as long as it is, but if this at all sounds interesting to you, check it out. You know, if this sounds like something maybe you'd enjoy, give it a vote on Steam Greenlight. You know, a lot of these small developers, especially for a game like this, for a somewhat of a niche sport compared to others, and somewhat of a niche game, you're never going to hear about it elsewhere. So if you think this looks remotely interesting to you, I say go ahead and vote for it. You know, what's the worst? They're going to put a game on there that maybe you don't enjoy, but it's not like everyone buys every game on Steam anyway. They could use the exposure, and it's a really well put together game. It just needs a little bit of exposure, I believe, and I think it would be great. So check it out. You know, if this looks interesting, by all means, go over there and vote for it. Otherwise, like I said, just thanks for watching, and I hope you all had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you all have a great New Year's. And until next time, this is the Historical Gamer signing out.